So how I shot this was on a tripod, and then I put my camera in the bracket mode shooting. So basically what that's doing is taking 5 different exposures of the same shot. So since I'm on a tripod, the camera's not moving, and then it's taking 5 different photos at 5 different exposures. Let me get to the first. So this is shot 1, shot 2, shot 3, shot 4, and shot 5. So, I mean, realistically, I only really use 3 of these photos for my blend, but it's just nice to have 5 different exposures. So, because sometimes you're going to be in a house that's super bright, or you're going to be in a house that's super dark. So, being able to have 5 different exposures to select from really makes a big difference. So, typically, I just use the first 3 photos for my blend, and then what I'm going to do is I start off kind of with my middle exposure, and then I'm going to just do a very soft edit on this. Make this a little bit darker, bring up the shadows, and then honestly I'm not doing much, like very subtle adjustments. So that's all I did for that first one. Next, I'm going to be using this photo to cut out my window. So basically I'm just primarily focusing on how the window looks when I'm doing the my editing on the very dark one. So I'm going to bring those highlights down just so it brings out those windows. I'm going to bring out my blacks so my edges aren't super dark when I'm outlining that. I'm going to bring up the saturation just to make those windows pop a little bit more. And then typically I'll make the outside a little bit warmer. So I'm going to bring up my temperature exposure. So just to give you an idea, so super dark exposure, and again I'm just exposing for the windows because that's what I'm going to do to copy and paste that to my other photo. And then lastly, this is going to be my darker blend. This house was really nice and lit, so there's really not too much I need to do for this. So this one's honestly going to probably be pretty close to how that one looked, but either way, I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to hit Command, I'm going to hit select on that one, and I'm also going to hit select on that one. So I'm going to basically take these 3 photos and then bring them into Photoshop. I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to go to edit, and then the key is open as layer in Photoshop. You don't want to hit edit in Photoshop because then it's going to make 3 different files for your Photoshop session. But if you do open as layers in Photoshop, it's basically going to take all 3 of these photos and stack them into one file. I'm going to open up Photoshop here. I'm going to make this full screen too. I guess it's not going to let me go full screen, so we'll just stay as is. First step, I always just take my darkest exposure, bring that to the top because that's what I'm going to use last. Take off the eye thing so it's not being exposed to me right now. And then I have my brighter and darker. I guess there is a little bit more of a difference. So first up I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my middle exposure, and that one's going to be right here in the middle. I'm going to go to channels, and I'm going to command or control click, go to RGB, and then it's basically going to take this and blend it with like kind of these highlighted spots, and it's going to blend it with the other parts of this photo, your brighter one. So then after you do, again, that's command RGB click, then you're going to go back to layers, and then you're going to hit layer mask. So basically what that did was blend these 2 photos on top of one another, and it just creates a really nice blend to where it's not too bright or it's not too dark, and just kind of makes a really good blend between the 2 photos. And then next I'm going to go to my dark exposure, click on the eyeball so I make sure that's the one I'm viewing, and then also make sure you're clicking here on the correct photo. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the pen tool, which is right here. I'm going to command plus click to get close to these windows. And then basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to outline around these windows here. I know there's an easy way to make super straight lines for shortcut when outlining these windows, but to be honest, I have not looked into it too much or done that because sometimes the windows aren't exactly always going to be straight, so I just find it a little bit easy to just outline these real quick, and it doesn't take too long. The key is just trying to get as close as possible to the borders, and then after you get your outline, as you can see I have that entire window outline, you're going to do Command Shift Enter, and it's going to make a nice little outline here of that window you just did, and then you're going to repeat that process for the other windows that are left. Alright, gonna zoom out. So as you can see, I got all 4 of my windows penciled or pen outline, and then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this layer mask, hit that, and then basically what that did was blend all 3 of these photos. So middle exposure I combined with my bottom one here to just get a nice exposure together, and then the last one I basically took the windows from this and put it there, so it really gets some nice detail outside of the window here, and it's not going to blow out your windows or anything like that. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command W, and what that's going to do is take this photo that I have made here, and that's going to bring it right back to my Lightroom session that I already have open. So Command W, we're going to hit save. As you can see, it's saving. And then we're going to go back into Lightroom, and as you can see, that photo I just edited in Photoshop is now in Lightroom. And then this is where I'm going to do my final touch up for the image. So I'm going to make sure my image is nice and even. Sometimes when it's kind of eyeing, but honestly, sometimes the auto doesn't look the best, so it's about 50-50 whether or not it looks good. If it doesn't look the best from when it does it, I just manually go in and adjust the angle. Next thing I'm going to do is remove chromatic abbreviations, can't pronounce words, so bear with me. And I'm going to go to enable profile corrections, and since I blended 3 different photos, the Lightroom session doesn't automatically recognize what type of lens or what type of camera I use for this. So I'm shooting on Sony, I'm going to go to Sony, and then from there it'll recognize what camera you use, and it just if you have a wider angle lens, which you do if you're shooting real estate stuff, it removes kind of like the fisheye on the edges of the image and makes it nice and flat. And then from here I'm just going to make some really subtle adjustments, maybe just brighten that up a little bit, bring up the texture just a smidge, and then lastly I'm going to bring up the sharp. So I'm going to hit option here as I'm dragging the mask, and that's going to show me what parts of the image are going to get sharpened there. I'm going to just do that, and then there you have it. I mean, that's all there is to it. It takes a little bit of time to get used to, and as you do more and more houses, your reps are going to be a lot faster of doing this. And then all I'm going to do from here is export into the folder that I made, edit, and then I'm going to just call this downstairs 1, export, and then I'll show you what that looks like in here. And you have your edit, and there you have it. You're going to just repeat that process for all your shots, and that's kind of how I go about editing my real estate stuff. If you have any questions, comment below and hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much.